It'll go in a second. Morning, everybody. Morning. I'm sure people will be drifting in here in the next few minutes. We had a fun day yesterday. You had a good time yesterday? Everybody did. That was good. Do we feel motivated? Oh yeah. We feel super motivated after our good meeting. I know last week I mentioned we weren't going to have an office meeting, and that was my fault. I didn't look at the schedule before I said that. I just assumed we did, forgetting that we did have some stuff planned for today. So thank you guys for showing up. Nice to see everybody as well. We're going to get started. We have a lot of guests today. For you guys that showed up, we have some guests that might have some tasters.
Yeah.
Oh, so you guys are going to taste some food. You guys on Zoom. You don't get no food sitting at home. It's Drew. Monica's like, dang it. It sounds so good. Hey, Drucifer. He said hi, but he can't hear.
Good morning.
Morning. So we're going to go through. Shauna, you want to come on up and we'll start with some fun and get some people coming through? Yeah. Let's get that game show going. Hey, I'm going to leave it right.
Good morning. Good morning. What we do is we guess the prices of a home that has sold in the last 2 weeks. So feel free to participate. It's open for all. So let's start with our first house. It's Westland, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, built in 2010, 2,500 square feet and a 7,000 square foot lot. What I did find out though is, guess what? None of these are KW
Houses. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we wouldn't cheat. That's one of the requirements. Ooh, I like that. That little tile wood flooring. That's nice. I like the white kitchen with the brown. That's very nice. No backyard.
Hey Drew, let's see.
All right, Drew, how good do you remember your Lancaster pricing? What do we got on Zoom? We got thinking 625. What are you guys thinking in there? 725. 499. What? You guys are way off from each other. I feel like you guys should be closer. 505, 515, 549. What are you guys thinking back here? 535, 580.
Are we ready?
What is it?
Actual for West Lancaster, actual retail price.
Without going over is
4.
Is that right?
It has to be right.
They have to. They should have listed it with KW.
Right. 489. Ramsey's at 489. You guys. That house would have been like $1 million like 2 weeks ago, dude.
Did you see that house?
Like 3 weeks.
That's crazy.
Drew said, I guess we need the ship class again.
2010.
Alright, let's see. The next house is West Palmdale.
I feel like that must be east side. I feel like that's a mistake, but that's just my opinion.
Alright.
I could be wrong. I'm moving on.
Okay, West Palmdale, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths. Built in 2002. 2,085.
That's a big lot. That's a big
A
lot.
nice size lot.
For West Palmdale.
590.
Oh my gosh.
2 months ago, this house would have been $1 million.
527.
You said West Palmdale?
West Palmdale.
Flicker's kind of delaying.
Oh, I know what houses those are.
Oh.
Oh, look at that.
Cul-de-sac.
What the heck are you doing with that left part of your property?
That's really irregular.
This is where you put your friends you don't like, you let them bake to death.
You walk up. Oversees the view.
Oh yeah, you got a view.
Wait, hold on.
You gotta walk through.
Are those the houses above highway?
In the summer, you gotta walk through Death Valley to get to the view. Alright, what do we got here? 515, 590, 555, 535, 575, 580, 545. We got on Zoom 6, 550, 530, 590.
Go back to the square footage.
Go back.
690. Oh, 690. Alright, actual retail price.
580.
Without going over. 580. What we got? Nobody on Zoom? You guys got it directly right?
Finally. Oh my God.
Jason got it directly right?
Stop, you guys all got it?
It's been weeks.
So
Alright, we got one more. Anybody else on 580? Anybody on Zoom? Nobody on Zoom, alright. I got
Dude,
three
only
left.
put 5 in because you put 5
Let's see,
in.
last one is East Palmdale, 5-bedroom, 3-bath, built in 2003, 2,600 square feet on a 6,500 square foot
East
lot.
Palmdale, 5 and 3.
5 and 3 corner lot.
Yeah, you know, your standard, you know, big master.
Nice idea.
Oh man, I got a baby.
It's a big house.
See the
5.
pictures?
Alright, what do you guys think?
Go back to
480,
520.
520,
565.
450, 585, 475, 515, 0,
Alright, Zoom.
520.
$1.
515.
2,600 square feet? I would say 540.
On the east side.
545.
Actual retail price
Actual retail price.
is.
And $500.
We got 475 on Zoom. Anyone closer?
I thought about it.
485. 485.
Nobody got this one.
John at 485.
Who has, anybody have?
Damn, that's what I had.
Oh, John with the big
I'm
winner.
gonna change it. I would lower, of course.
Alright, well, that's what it is today, that's
That's what it
awesome.
is.
Prices are adjusting.
When did you get it ready?
Alright, guys, thank you so much. Remember, on track, on the contract.
Thanks, Shada, as always.
On the racetrack.
On the racetrack. Alright guys, we're going to be doing some kind of fun for the agents. We have Inview here to come up and talk real quick what we're doing for you guys if you want to take advantage for a select few of you that can fill in the spot. So, welcome to Inview.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Urban Pacheco with InView Media, and we are starting a new platform for everyone as far as the realtors. And so it's podcasting. I'm pretty sure you guys are recognized platforms like Joe Rogan, biggest platform as far as podcasting goes. It's a new way to actually start giving out information as far as like when it comes to the market, but also getting into personal ideas as far as who you are and who your host is, who you're trying to attract as far as your demographic. So this is the newest platform that we're trying to innovate for you guys. Now it's actually set up at our studio. We are going to set up a date here at the actual real estate. So I'm going to give Garrett or whoever has the clicker to show the video.
Show the video now.
Yeah, and then I'm going to ask Ari to explain a little bit more.
Alright, press play. Alright, you got it. Help us out, Ari. Thanks.
It's all about how you think. 90% of your life is a reflection of what you thought about 3 or 2 years ago.
Yes.
Like where I'm at today, it was a thought, but now it's a fruition in reality. So you attract to your life what you focus on. What you focus on expands. So your emotions. Why are the emotions here? It's because of what you're focused on. What you give meaning to in your life is basically what your life is comprised of, your emotions. So focus on things that you're grateful for. Focus on what you want to manifest, to bring to your life, to give to the world.
So that is just a small little snip clip as far as like an example of what you guys want to start using the podcast format for. We are doing long-term as far as like hours, an hour worth of content for you guys when it comes to the actual podcast. But what you guys need to do is you guys need to start utilizing it not only just for the long YouTube channel, long formatted video, audio, it's also so that you guys could snip clip information as far as like for your Instagram, TikTok, and also for Facebook. And then, Ari?
Yeah, so we'll be coming in Monday, October 24th, and we'll be hosting a podcast space for you guys to come in, and we have a sign-up sheet, so that's what the QR code is there. But we'll be here from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and we're splitting it into 20-minute sessions. So we have 12 slots available. 3 of those are already taken, so we have 9 as of now. So if you want to sign up, you'll want to scan this QR code, and when you sign up for it, you'll get the 20-minute podcast session. You'll get the audio and video. We are offering Reels as an add-on, so you can get 2 Reels for your social media for $20 each. So that's in addition to the audio and video of the podcast.
Yeah. And if you guys have any further questions, of course you guys know me walking around every now and then, so feel free. As far as like if you guys need any coaching or directing, as far as like talking points or highlighted points, as far as like how you guys want to approach this, feel free to contact me or if not, Ariana, for any further questions on the podcast.
Here's what I'm willing to do for you guys. If you're not sure what to say, what to do, what to talk about, if you want to be interviewed, I will sit down with you. If you don't know what to say, what to do, and I could interview you, you could interview me, whatever that looks like. We have 3 or 4 base questions. Trust me, 20 minutes goes fast. Asked Michelle, me and her did one last week, 2 weeks ago, and like, oh my gosh, how are we gonna do an hour? And they were like, bam, an hour was done, like in no time, and we were just talking about random stuff. So be willing to do that for you. Take advantage of this, guys. Also, just so you know, Brandon has 2 people underneath his downline that came up and signed up who have never met Brandon, but just followed him on his social media, and they're like, oh yeah, I just follow him. He does a good job. Brother, I have no idea who that is, but they signed up underneath him because he does such a good on his social media. So take advantage of this stuff. You want to, we're bringing it for you, so you can take the material and do what you want with it, or take advantage and get the reels and go from there. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, we also have one more guest. Just get through the
It's all
video.
about how you think.
Oh, I could have started.
Nani?
Look at that. We got Nom Nom here from Meal Prep. They're going to come up and talk a little bit about some meal prepping they have, and they got samples for us. So, I mean, best part of the day. Thanks, guys.
How are you guys?
Very good. How are you?
Hi, y'all. My name is Chris Shamoon. I don't know if you all know my dad. He works here too.
Yeah.
Sometimes. This is my friend Jennifer.
Hey guys.
We have known each other since like 1989 when we moved in. We were neighbors. We moved in on the same day to our houses, and we've been friends ever since. A couple of months ago, her and I were talking about, doing something that we were passionate about, and making life easier for people. And Jennifer is on a health mission right now, and I'm on a mission to personally keep my weight down. I'm a yo-yo dieter. I go up and down. I've tried everything over my my entire life, and I started really thinking about why am I like this? What was that?
Well, we just got to
And a huge reason was I either didn't know how to cook or it wasn't available to me. I've been a hairdresser since 2004, and how we eat in the salon is we go back to the back, we're mixing color or we're cleaning our clippers, and we stuff our faces real quick and we go back out, and there's just really no accountability. So we wanted to create something for people that is super tasty and doesn't make you feel like you're missing out on anything, and is really convenient as well. So we created Nom Nom, because that's usually what you say when you eat really good food.
Yeah, I mean, personally, for me, I was going through a bunch of health problems, and I just wanted to figure out what was causing those health problems. I wasn't sleeping well. My body was kind of reacting to different foods in different ways, and I was like, I need to get this right. I looked at, my family, and I'm like, there's some things that I just want to prevent myself from going through health-wise. And so I started changing our diet at home. We started eating much cleaner, much healthier, and I noticed a change immediately for me. I started sleeping better. I lost weight just because of it. I wasn't even exercising at that time. So diet for me, and not diet in the conventional sense, but diet, like the food that I was just consuming every day, played such a huge part in me getting more out of my life. And so I think that is something that sometimes we forget about when we're so busy, because I've been there, I've been where you're at. We forget about it, we just use food to just kind of fill the grumbles, and we're not thinking about the fuel that we're putting in our body and what it's gonna, what it's gonna put out. So I think that's why food is so important and why I'm so passionate about what we're doing. Yeah.
So we offer meal prep,
Yeah.
and we brought you some samples. Is there a timer? How are we?
We've only got 5 minutes, I don't know.
You're good.
I don't wanna
I'm
take
sure
too much
everyone
time.
wants to try some food, so that's everyone's favorite
Cool,
part.
we'll pass out some food. There
In
are,
fact, most people are here just for the food.
nice. Our information is on the little cards in front of you. They're like yellowish, and we have a few more.
Yeah, I've got some pricing guides here, and I've got more cards if you didn't get a chance to get one.
And would you prefer we pass them out, or?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would appreciate you. That's. Yeah. Is it? You didn't nominate.
As you may or may not tell, I'm Mediterranean, or Middle Eastern, so it's a Mediterranean-inspired dish.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, absolutely. I say, this is, haha, everybody on Zoom, this is why you should come in person. We get yummy food and you don't.
Jen, do you guys deliver?
Yeah, we do deliver. I've got that info for you. Okay, cool.
What are your fees
For delivery?
for your food?
So,
got a pricing guide up there, she's got-
I've got a sheet for you. I'll grab it for you. That'll be
Is her name Jen?
easier.
You didn't say that. Pretty close. Good job, Could be.
Yeah, John.
It's like Christmas.
I hope everybody on
Sounds
Zoom
like
can hear you
bubbles.
opening up your delicious food.
Here, I've got one of these for you. I miss you guys? Oh, you got one? Okay, fantastic.
Bro, I'm kind of wrong.
Can I put a bunch of these on the table just for other agents that come in a little bit? Can I still?
Will they be in shortly so they don't feel cold?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
I thought you meant some of these, and I was like, yeah, I just don't want them to get hot.
No, I just want to take a bunch of, that way we have them for,
Yeah,
what we'll have is
yourself.
people asking on Zoom for the pricing guide. You never get any hand. Awesome.
Any questions?
Can I get one of those flyers?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And just before we leave, I just want to shout out Sam. Thank you. Little known fact, when I was in beauty school, Sam let me cut his hair. Like bi-weekly, he helped me get really good at men's cuts. So thank you for that. Thank you for letting us in here today as well.
Of course.
Thank you, Chris, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys, appreciate it.
Do you guys do like macros and
Yes.
calories and everything?
Yes,
Break that
so
down?
we didn't do it on these ones because the stickers are a little bit big, but the actual full-size meal of this particular meal is like 271 calories. It has 35 grams of protein in it, so you'll have like all that information broken down for you as well. Cool.
Thank you guys,
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Yeah, appreciate you.
Oh, it does.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you guys. You guys can enjoy your food. All right, we have one other announcement. I don't see back here, Jackie. We got one other pretty big announcement for you guys. Just so everyone's aware, we're all on the same page. Josh has decided at this time that the office, all of us, or it's a little bit much for him. I'm just kidding. He's going to be focusing back on his spot in Tehachapi. He's still going to be a part of the family. We're excited for what the future holds with Josh. But we're going to have a new broker of record for our office. And most of us already know and love him. So that's a great benefit. Let me bring you around. And without further ado, let's announce our favorite person ever, Mr. Drucifer.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
No way.
I am excited.
No way.
You know, the AP and the Rich Test has always been a special place in my heart, and I am just really excited about the opportunity to jump back into the leadership team and help KWAV Ridgecrest grow to new heights. So I am pleased to be your new broker of record. No, I'm not moving back, but I am only a phone call or a Zoom or a text away, and I look forward to helping you guys advance your business and support you.
Awesome. Well, Drew, there's some. We have some new agents that maybe don't know you like we all love and know you. Can you go a little bit, just breakdown of your past history as being a broker and where you're from and where you're at today?
Sure. So born and raised in beautiful downtown Ridgecrest, California. I've been in the real estate industry for 22 years, selling full-time for 18. I helped launch the KW Ridgecrest office 5 years ago. Prior to that, I was sales manager of a Cole Baker office, and I brokered and owned a RE/MAX office for about a decade. Was the president of the Ridgecrest Area Association of Realtors 3 different times. I served as a CAR director for 5 years. I also served 1 year as the regional chair for the California Association of Realtors. So I have a true passion for realtors, for home ownership rights, and I am excited to take all of that experience and help you guys grow.
Awesome. Thank you, Drew. And for everyone to get a hold of you, we're still at the same spot, KWAV Broker. We're still going to use the same email, so nothing changes there. If you don't have Drew's personal cell, he was going to type it in the chat. You could also ask any of us if you need to reach out to him. Same scenario. Drew's going to be here to support and help us. He'll be jumping on Zooms to help us into some team meetings and doing some fun stuff like that. But he's a phone call or a text away. What's the best, Drew? What's the easiest way for us? It's a Thursday at 4 o'clock, and I get a call because my 433A certificate doesn't work, and the lender wants something, and I have no idea what they're talking about. What's the best way for me to get a hold of you? Is it text, call, email?
Yeah, probably the very fastest way to get a response is going to be a text. Because I still am coaching, by the way, so if I'm in a coaching session and I see a text, I'll be able to respond in between appointments. And then, of course, I've got time blocking happening because if it's not in your schedule, it doesn't exist, right? So I will have time blocks throughout the day where I'll be responding to phone calls and text messages. So if you text me, I'll be able to keep that better organized and my response rate will be higher.
Awesome. So text messages, put that in there, mark it in there. All right, Drew, we appreciate you. We'll let you get back to your beautiful Idaho and enjoy your time up there. And I hate you for moving, and I'm jealous.
I'm gonna go on the boat now.
Yeah. All right, later, Drew. Thank you so much, man.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. All right, I'll let Mike fix this for me as I broke it. All right, we're gonna jump into a couple minutes early. That's good. We did good on time. We have a lot of guests. I was nervous we'd be late, but I think I saw Steven on here already. Steven, are you here? I thought I saw you. I just want to make sure I do see you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, good morning, I'm here.
Awesome. All right, we're gonna swing you around to our. Oh, we're here. We have a room full of people also on Zoom, so we can interact. If we have questions, we'll let you know. But I'll let you take it away.
Well, good morning. How's everybody doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good. Well, so a couple weeks ago, I think I went to lunch with Sam and Amy, and we kind of got to talking a little bit about some of the misconceptions in my world. For those of you guys that don't know me, I'm a local attorney. I've been practicing law here for about 20 years here in the Antelope Valley exclusively. I work with a lot of your colleagues in your office and other offices in the Antelope Valley to really help solve problems. And so today, what I've been asked to talk about a little bit is to give you guys an update on where we are with respect to estate planning, probate, trusts, all of those things that affect you as real estate agents and brokers as you maneuver your way through these Antelope Valley properties. There's you guys probably second to lawyers or accountants experience more trust and estate planning, power of attorney issues than anybody besides myself or an accountant, I would say. And so all of you are relatively educated. You've been through transactions where you have a probate situation or you have a trust situation. And those situations are something you need to know how to maneuver, because it's not always you're going to be able to contact your broker at 4:30 on a Friday to get an answer before you head into the weekend. So, my hope today is that I can answer some questions and give you guys some background and understanding and explanation on why it is that we need to have some general discussions with our clients and why it is that you should make sure you have a team of specialized people to help them. So for those of you that don't know, California is a probate state. Probate is a process whereby the court, that's the LA County Court, Kern County Court, the county court where the property is located, will administer an estate of a deceased individual. California probates are required in all circumstances when somebody passes away, unless that person has their property in a trust at the time of their death. So one of the things that I always try to educate agents on is that no matter whether you're helping somebody buy a property or you're receiving information in a listing, you want to make sure that these clients understand that their property is subject to probate if they were to pass away. Because without a living trust or a co-owner, when somebody dies, you have to go through probate. So really, what is a trust? I think a lot of us, we've heard of trusts, we've been in transactions where trusts are an owner or a buyer, and you might not fully understand. A trust is essentially a legal instrument that allows for a person to monitor and control their assets, or to monitor and control the assets of another individual. Now, the reason the trust is so valuable is because it acts like an armored truck to avoid probate, to protect those assets from outside pressures. And so what we want to see is that the title of the assets be in the name of a living trust. And so when a client buys a property, one of the recommendations you guys should make to them is, now that you're a homeowner, it's very important that you guys get an estate plan prepared, because with the estate plan, that's how you're going to protect that asset, to make sure that it's there for the surviving children or family members, and that it's designated to go to who those people want it to go to. Because without a living trust, then it will go through probate, and the law will dictate what happens in that circumstance. So probate, if you guys don't know, is about a 2-year process, plus or minus. It could be a little less, it could be a little bit more, whereby during that period of time, the court has to administer the assets of a deceased individual. Probates are tens of thousands of dollars. That's money taken away from a person's beneficiaries or heirs, and that money goes to lawyers, courts, the judicial system, and a variety of other legal expenses. I know I'm not in the room there, and so to me the screen is a little small, but how many of us have done a probate transaction here that are online with us today?
A lot.
A lot. So when we're looking here, probate transactions are somewhat complicated. I think we've all been through them. Our office has about 80 pending probates at the moment, and so we deal with these situations every day. Probate transactions are difficult. How many of you guys have done a trust transaction where you're selling a property for somebody that's in a trust?
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. So how much easier is it to do a trust transaction versus a probate transaction? 1,000%, and that's accurate. And so that in and of itself should be the education that you need to explain to your clients that, listen, they really need an estate plan. Now it doesn't matter if you've got $50,000 in equity or $5 million in equity. You've got to make sure that these properties are protected in an estate plan to ensure that if somebody gets sick or passes away, we have a vehicle to protect that asset. So that's really what I would really impress upon you, to ensure that your clients understand the importance behind it. Listen, this is a sales piece. You guys are all salespersons. I'm impressing upon you how important it is that estate planning be done. I'm not telling you everyone has to come to me. I'd love to help all of your clients, but if it's not me, we need to make sure that somebody is advising your clients to do estate planning for them. Because if they do get sick or pass away, when their family members come to you to list the property, for one, probate listings are in LA County are capped at a 5% commission. So right off the bat, you're stuck doing more work for less commission generally. Or in a trust transaction, your commission is set privately between the parties. So there's so many reasons why estate planning is important. But besides the living trust, a proper estate plan should also have necessary power of attorney forms in place. Now, a power of attorney is a document that allows a person to pick a representative to make decisions on their behalf. those decisions are one that that an agent will be able to make on behalf of another person. So a proper estate plan should have a power of attorney that would allow somebody to make their financial decisions as well, which would give them the opportunity to negotiate with lenders, banking institutions, taxing authorities, all of which are part of this process when you sell a property. So it's very important that all of these documents be prepared. It's not just a trust. The trust avoids probate, yes, but the trust is supported by the power of attorneys. And then, of course, a trust is not validly funded until assets are placed into the trust, which is why it's so important that we need the deeds, the title to the properties to be vested in the name of the trust as well. So, you know, that's my 5-minute quick overview. You know, I think in these circumstances, it's important that, you know, we have a little bit of back and forth if possible. Let you guys, you know, take some of my time and I'll answer your questions. I know that these transactions with trusts and probates are involved are complicated and difficult. So, you know, let me open up the communication here a little bit and let you guys ask some questions.
Steve, I got a question.
I did just get one quick question. You know, what does it cost to set up a trust? You know, that really depends. You know, trusts, our estate plans are anywhere from, you know, the probably $1,500 to $1,700 range, all the way up to $5,000, depending on where you're going and what kind of complexities you have involved. So it's really a trust and estate plan are not a one-size-fits-all mechanism. You really should not have, your trust should not look like your neighbor's trust, because your family is different than theirs, your circumstances are different than theirs. So, but I would expect, you know, figure between about $2,000 to $3,000 are the average cost for an estate plan in today's world.
Steve, this is George. I'm actually a real estate instructor here at the office, and I get this question all the time. What's the difference between a will and a trust, and what kind of role does it play in probate?
Yeah, great question. So the easiest way for most people to understand this is that a will instructs the court and an executor how to administer your assets after you're deceased. And under the will can only be administered after approval by a judge. The end result will be a distribution of the assets, less tens of thousands of dollars in expenses to lawyers, court systems, and otherwise. A trust is drafted first to protect the author of the trust. So my trust protects myself. It doesn't protect my kids. It only protects my kids when I'm deceased. But basically, a trust is like an armored truck. So an armored truck that picks up assets from the banks and transports it around. Your armored truck protects your assets and transports it around for the rest of your life, protecting the author of the trust in most circumstances. So when that author of the trust prepares their living trust, it protects them. If they get sick or pass away, a successor trustee steps in the driver's seat of that armored truck and transports those assets as long as necessary, and then ultimately distributes them. A trust is private, it's outside of the court, and it does not need supervision or oversight by a judicial officer like a will does. So when a person has a will without a trust, it requires probate. When a person has a trust and the assets are in the trust, no court interaction and very little legal expenses are necessary.
Awesome. Great answer.
I have a question. I have a client right now that has a trust. Actually, the family had a trust, and they've since passed on, but they have no copy of the trust.
Yeah, that's actually it's seemingly a relatively common thing. You know, I think in the early 2000s, a lot of attorneys were keeping original copies of people's trusts. And nowadays, a lot of attorneys are retiring or passing away and never giving those documents back. I've had 3 cases recently where we don't have a copy of a trust when the property is vested in the name of the trust. Unfortunately, if you don't maintain a copy, then we will have to seek a court order to confirm the distribution of those assets, and it likely will go through a probate process. So if your client cannot find a copy of the trust, it's very possible and highly likely that a probate will be required in that case.
Perfect, thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I don't know if this can be explained, in a short time, but how does the Proposition 19 affect the trust or affect the beneficiaries in the trust?
Well, Prop 19 is, in my opinion, single-handedly changed the benefits for a person to inherit a property from their parents tremendously. If you own commercial properties or multi-family properties and you intend to transfer those assets to beneficiaries, Prop 19 really changed the climate. It took the affordability away from the transfer of those assets, because Prop 19 will force the reassessment of almost every property transferred from a parent to child, with the exception of a property that's a primary residence that was first occupied by the decedent and then occupied by the child. And so estate planning, wills, trusts, there's really nothing that can be done to augment the Prop 19 requirements. Depending on the kind of property, there's some very complex business planning with respect to formations of an LLC, for instance, a partnership or a corporation, where you could do some succession planning to augment the effects of Prop 19. And for those of you that don't know, we're all very familiar with Prop 13. Prop 13 keeps our property taxes at the level of which we bought the property at very small annual increases. Prop 19 used to provide that when a parent passed away, they could transfer their property to a child, one primary residence, and up to $1 million, and assess other properties and avoid reassessment at the date of death. Prop 19, which was passed a couple of years ago by Californians in their infinite wisdom, elected to basically obliterate the benefits that we have to give properties to our children. A lot of real estate developers and investors, they buy these properties to provide succession planning for their children. And of course, we all know properties, although they go up and down, over time they're going to be worth far greater. And so when an individual passes away, Prop 19 now forces that tax reassessment for property taxes, generally in every case, with the exception of the transfer of a primary residence, when the child's also going to live in the property as well. So estate planning really doesn't get us around that, but in very rare circumstances with some pretty complex planning, for business planning, we can do some things to help.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good question. See, I have a question. So we work with a lot of buyers that are just buying and they don't, know how to, they don't know what they're doing for the most part. What is the advice, or what is something that we can tell them to try to get them to go through the trust thing? Like, what should we be telling our client, besides what we talked about earlier, of getting, a lot of them, to be fair, can barely get the down payment. And get that going. So is that something we put into their head for the future and they should try to do in the future, or is there some sort of course or something they can go to learn about and eventually do that with you guys, or is there something on that?
Well, we do some kind of education courses. We'll advertise those on our website or social media. But with the exception of that, I would just, whether if it's a first-time home buyer putting 3% down or less, or it's a home buyer putting, paying cash, no matter what, it's important that they recognize whether there's a little bit or a lot of equity. If they pass away, the equity will first go to the probate process no matter what. So a lot of times we have people come into our office, referred maybe by one of your colleagues there in the room, and we get these potential sellers, and there's $40,000 in equity, but the probate's going to cost 15, 20 grand. We just took away half of the benefits that the family would otherwise be entitled to. So in that circumstance, even with a little bit of equity, the estate plan would allow immediate listing of the property at death, and would allow for the sale without any court intervention and no cost. So I think what you have to advise your clients is the necessity that we that they do estate planning as soon as possible. It doesn't matter, like I said, if they have a lot or a little bit of equity in their property. It's just a necessary thing. As a mature adult, we all buy insurance every year. We take, we have homeowners insurance, we have car insurance. Those are for unknown potential claims. I hate to say it, everyone passes away at some point. We all know that old comment. There's two things guaranteed, death and taxes. You file your tax return every year, but rarely do people consider how important it is to do their estate plan. So I think that planting that seed is really important to make sure that these clients know that, hey, listen, if something happens to you, I'm going to be able to help your family quickly and easily and cheaply. And the best way for me to be able to do that is that you get to your estate planning counsel and get an estate plan done. The fees are relatively reasonable. They're not something that you have to do every year. Estate planning is not an annually monitored thing. A lot of people do it once and might monitor and update it every 5 years. That's usually the recommendation. And then those expenses are relatively minor for any updates. But the point is whether they have a little bit or a lot in the property, the estate plan is going to help them immediately. If they were to get sick, one of the worst things that happens is a court-appointed conservator, which is required if somebody does not have a power of attorney. So every mature adult needs a power of attorney, and everybody who has a home needs a trust.
What kind of assets can be added to the trust, Steve?
Well, generally speaking, you want all of your assets in your trust because your trust is multi-dimensional. So what happens under the trust itself is that you're going to have a lot of what ifs and answers to those what ifs. Where if you have all of your accounts in the trust, we have a secure vehicle to transport those assets in the event that you get sick or pass away. So we want the bank accounts, the investments, the stocks, the bonds, the mutual funds, all of the real estate, any business entities that they own, all of those assigned and transferred to your client's trusts. Because if they get sick, you have the ability to immediately go into the bank. We recently had, here's an example, we recently had a client who had a trust. She passed away and she had almost all of her cash investments in a corporation. We were able to use the trust documents and her assignment of her corporate documents into the trust to gain access to this bank account that had a substantial amount of resources in it instantly. If we would have had to have gone through probate, it would have taken probably the better part of 90 to 120 days. Instead, the family now had instant access to resources to take care of the household and the minor children, which would have otherwise taken months. So we want all assets in the trust, not just the house.
That includes physical assets such as vehicles or jewelry, things of that sort?
So most attorneys will prepare documents to assign the tangible personal property to the trust. Depending on the value of the vehicles, generally we do not put vehicles in a trust. If you're one of these people that is fortunate or unfortunate enough to have an exotic car, for instance, you might want to put that into the trust. If you've got a really expensive recreational vehicle, you might want to put that into the trust. But most everyday vehicles you drive down the road, we don't need to put those in the trust. There's a simple process if you pass away to be able to liquidate those. But generally, I leave that up to the client.
Awesome. Thanks for answering.
Who else has got questions? You have
online?
Anybody else online have any questions? Take advantage.
Oh, I have another one.
Go ahead.
I understand that IRAs or 401ks don't need to go into a trust. Is that true?
So while you're alive, correct. You definitely do not want your IRA, 401k, 403b, 457, inherited retirement accounts to be in your trust. Now, if you're married, we always want the spouse to be the primary beneficiary. And then depending on the age and maturity level of your children or beneficiaries, you're either going to name the trust as the beneficiary or the children directly. And that's really a case-by-case basis. I myself, I have 3 minor daughters. My girls are 15 and younger. My trust has really complex planning to take care of them in the event my wife and I were to pass away, to ensure that they don't have access to money too soon. But so long as a child is a minor and that child has any potential to receive a retirement benefit, you never want the retirement benefits to go to the minor. You want it to go to a trust. Now under President Trump, the Secure Act that passed, I think in 2019, made the single greatest change in tax structures for retirement accounts. They changed the ability to have an inherited IRA roll over the life expectancy of a child. So now you've got to take an IRA within 10 years. So again, there's a lot of complexities in retirement planning. That's why it's important that when you do your estate plan, that you talk to your counsel so that they can give you advice on a case-by-case basis. But you're right, while you're alive, you never put a retirement account in the trust. But it is possible that the trust would be a contingent beneficiary of that retirement account in the event of your death.
Okay, thank you.
Is estate planning a write-off?
That you'd have to confer with your on whether or not, in some circumstances, of course, paying a professional or fees, depending on what kind of taxpayer you are, provides you tax deductibility of those expenses. So, you know, but again, I'm not doing your taxes, so it'll depend on what your accountant feels comfortable, depending on what kind of taxpayer you are.
I have one last
question.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I have one last quick question. Sorry if I missed it, but what's the average time frame from when you start the process for it to be completed and say, I have a trust?
So generally, we'll meet with a client, my office, I can only speak to what we do. We'll have an estate plan once the first meeting is concluded within about 5 to 7 business days. Once the estate plan is completed, we want our clients to review the documents, read them, mark on them, ensure that they're drafted to their wishes, and then they'll come back in and sign it. So from the first appointment, it's generally anywhere from 3 weeks to 6 weeks, depending on how aggressive the client is to get back in here. We prefer within a month is our goal. So you come in and then you sign it within a month. You know, we have urgent circumstances where people are going in for surgery or they're going on an international vacation or a trip or something, and you know, we can rush it faster. But you know, generally for most clients on a leisurely basis, it's about 4 to 8 weeks from start to finish.
Now, does a trust have to be recorded with the county where the assets are situated in?
So we don't recommend recording the trust. It's not intended to be a public document. What we do record, of course, is the trust transfer deed transferring the property to the trust itself. So that puts the world on, you know, gives us public record that the house is in the name of the trust. So that we do.
Awesome.
Joanna, you got a question on Zoom?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious to know if there is a direct relationship between the title, whose name is that on? Because as a realtor, we do offer, you know, we have to do the survey when it comes to title. If we ever come across property, would it be if we, what are we looking at? The trust? How can we, like, if they're not in a trust, how do we even have the possibilities of knowing where is it coming from? Like if it's a personal or not a non-trust property?
Well, so when you look at title on a property, obviously you're going to assess who the recorded owner is. Now, if a trust is properly prepared, then the trust itself would be listed on title, and the name of the existing trustee should be on title as well. Now, so the person you should be talking to is that listed trustee. Now, if it happens that person is deceased, then you could ascertain who the proper person is by reviewing the trust document itself. And then obviously I would reach out to title and ask them what documents they're going to need. Generally, they're going to require a certificate of trust and ultimately a full copy of the trust to ensure that the person is the proper seller. Now, every trust is going to list from start to finish the trustees in succession. And so you're always going to want to make sure that you're speaking to the person that's on the top of that list. And if it's not that person, then you've got an explanation that they're either incapacitated or deceased, Then you talk to the next person. And obviously getting the death certificate would be important to determine that. It's very important to remember, and this is one of the mistakes I see real estate agents make often, is that if you're not the author of the trust and you're a successor trustee, so assume that one of my parents passes away, I'm the trustee, and I hire you to list my dad's property, I am an exempt seller for disclosure purposes. So CAR has the exempt seller disclosure statements that we can make. There's very few items that we have to disclose statutorily, and in fact, a trustee or an executor or administrator of an estate are exempt sellers and are not required to disclose most aspects of the condition of the properties. So you want to make sure that you're not requiring your sellers, when they're trustees or executors, from over-disclosing. And so remember that as well. So that's just one thing I want you to keep in the back of your minds.
That's a great point.
Thank you.
Just at the office, guys, we do ask that you show the document that we are exempt, and you have a spot you can put exempt on there to the client to let them know that, hey, you would have gotten this in a normal transaction, but since it's in a trust, they're exempt from providing this. Just gives you extra protection.
One last question, Steve. Let's say
I have
that.
a question. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Isabel. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. My question is this: if somebody is in a special needs trust, would you advise that they put their assets in a living trust?
Well, that's a really complex question and probably could take a number of turns. But generally speaking, if somebody is the beneficiary of a supplemental needs trust or a special needs trust, they really should not own any assets. And so traditionally, a living trust would be a revocable trust, which means that they still own the assets. So if you have a client who is the recipient of special needs or a special needs trust, the assets should always remain in that special needs trust. Otherwise, they would disqualify themselves potentially from some of the public benefits they're otherwise entitled to. So if you do have a client that is special needs, sometimes they're disabled, sometimes they receive benefits from a family member at their death. It's very important that you be careful. You don't want to, if you get any inclination that somebody is medically disabled or receives Medi-Cal benefits or public benefits of any kind, when they're looking to buy properties, you want to be careful on how they vest title, because if they put it in their names, it could cause them some disqualification from benefits they're otherwise could be entitled to. So be very, very careful with that.
Always advise that they talk to a lawyer.
Right.
Yeah. You guys, we don't want real estate agents to be lawyers. You guys are some of the smartest, professionals. You guys probably have the greatest interaction. And I know clients, they like asking questions because you guys get paid through commissions when properties are sold. But don't over disclose. Don't provide answers to questions that are outside of your area of specialty. I don't want to see you guys subject yourself to liability for giving recommendations that are simply outside of your scope. We see lawsuits that we defend. We do a bunch of E&O coverage work at our office where agents over disclose or under disclose depending on the circumstances, and they say things they're just simply not supposed to. If it's trust or probate related and it's not something specific to the transaction, the answer should always be call your attorney.
Awesome. What if a client has a trust, they put their property they named the property in the trust, but the property was never vested to the actual trust? Go ahead.
Go ahead, sorry.
That trust needs to be executed at the time of death. What's the next step, or how does that work?
So that's actually a very common thing. When individuals, sometimes what happens is that they just fail they draft a trust, they do it online, or maybe they go to a paralegal and they never put title into the trust. And so what occurs is that property is unfunded, but we can file a petition with the court called a Hegstad petition. A Hegstad petition allows us to avoid probate by utilizing the trust documents, and then we get a court order putting the asset into the trust. So that's about a 90 to 120 day process, and it's about probably $5,000 when we could have avoided all of that had the property just put in the trust originally. So that hex step petition is very common. We see probably 1 to 3 of those a month where somebody passes away and their house was not in the trust. A very common thing that happens is when a person refinances their house, the bank requires them to take it out of the trust, and then they finish the refinance, and then the clients forget to put it back into the trust. So if that says something that happens and they did pass away, you need to make sure that you contact an attorney immediately, because you cannot sell the house until you get that hex stat petition processed.
Awesome. Well, guys, we've taken enough of Stephen's time. We really appreciate you. We'd love to have you back in the future. I think this was beneficial for a lot of us. We're taking a lot of notes in here. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. Let me know if I can do anything to help.
Sure.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys. Have a great day.
Thank you, too.
You too, thank you.
Awesome. Well, that's it for today, guys. Next week we do have somebody. I don't know who. Something will be going on next week, but I appreciate you guys. Quarterly awards. That's right. Next week, quarterly awards, script championship. We're gonna have some fun with awards. We're doing it right here in this building because we did gold over there with food, and that was really expensive. So we have to save some money this month. So quarterly awards, just being honest. We'll be right here next week, and we're gonna do script championship. We're gonna have some fun with it. We're gonna give away awards, and we'll do some lore going over where the real estate market's at.
Awesome.
All right.
Have a good day.
Yes.
Bye, Zoom. Stephanie's just gonna be